Ready?
This is Nicole. Welcome to Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it.
Yes, we have our guest, Gary Taylor.
I'm back.
He's back before Mr. Busy Man wasn't able to make it. So
I'm back.
we're all going to do a... We're going to be able to talk together. I was going to say something else, but I'm not. All right, guys. So there's a lot of topics I've been conversing about with my friend group and with several people. And one of the things that they brought up was, would you be more inclined to take advice from a person who failed multiple times or before succeeding, or from someone who got it right the first time? They were talking on a premise of business, and then it was able to filter into marriages and relationships. But from a business aspect, like, what are y'all's thoughts on it?
Different thoughts. To be quite honest,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, because this is such a detailed question where it's like, okay, I can't personally say that I would necessarily not take advice from somebody that's failed multiple times
Okay.
because, I mean, they got the lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, when your mom told you, don't put your hand on the stove or don't touch the iron.
And then you touch it.
Test it anyway.
Right.
I mean, I didn't. I listened, but yeah, for all the ones,
No.
for all the ones, for all the ones who
Show the
didn't,
arm, show the burn mark.
lies and fairy tales.
I got to see it now.
He's lying. No, I really don't. No, listen. I was obedient. I listened to the rules because I was able to witness. I was the youngest, so I was able to see the ones who didn't, and it's like, lesson learned. But they were great kids too. They really are.
But you still learn from other people's mistakes, though.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
instead of you doing it yourself, you saw other people fail at it or not listen.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly, honestly, I would be more inclined to take advice from a person who has failed multiple times faster than someone who got it right the first time. Because sometimes you look at those people, they lucked out. Not that they did anything wrong, but I don't know how much experience is underneath their belt. Versus someone who has gone through life experiences and kind of had to like pivot in the moment. They know what failure felt like. They know all the things that they've done wrong, and then they finally corrected those things. I would be more inclined to listen to someone who's had experience rather than knowledge. And that's what you think of, like a doctor. Who would you want operating on you? Someone who just finished the school of being a doctor, whatever school that is, right? Or someone who's had multiple surgeries, maybe lost a couple patients because of something went wrong. So that's how I view it.
Well, let's talk about one thing.
Okay.
You said lucked out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I, talking to my son one day,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't believe in luck.
I really don't either. I don't know why I use that word, but I don't either.
Mm-hmm.
I use that word because, it's like a thing that you say, like, oh, they lucked out. Because sometimes you can make great choices that lead you to where you are. And it is
For sure.
like it's a manifestation of everything you
Right, you
sowed,
was
and you took your
supposed-
time, you nurtured it. So lucked out, okay.
Because I found $20 the other day when I was picking my daughter up from school.
That might be
and it was
chance.
on the curve in
Yeah.
front of me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't luck.
I
I
agree.
was supposed to find the $20.
Mm-hmm.
I parked in that spot out of the whole parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Could have went to Chick-fil-A. Could have went anywhere else. Somebody else could have parked in that spot
Mm-hmm.
and saw the $20 right under their foot.
Okay.
So
yeah, you're right. It's not luck.
Nicole said I was right.
And it won't happen all the
Some
time.
people may say, look at God, right?
Right.
Look at God.
That's but yes, look at God, he blessed me. He wouldn't be right here. But no, like honestly, okay, so I don't believe in luck. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure since I know the person who's editing it, we're gonna scratch that part out so I can sound correct.
No, I like how I was in there.
You like how I was wrong?
But I want to piggyback on what you said because you brought in a good point when you talked about like the doctor that did multiple procedures and learned from the mistakes versus like a doctor that just finishes school and gets it right the first time. So the doctor that just gets it right the first time, was it because they were just completely skilled from their learning? So like you just said, like I don't want to necessarily say it's luck,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe they studied so much and they just got it right.
They know it, yeah.
That time. But that doesn't mean the next time they won't have the failures that the one that failed over and over and over again
Mm-hmm.
to now know that because I failed over and over and over again, I need to go this path and this should give me the desired outcome I seek.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
I think the reason why this question is layered is it has one, when you think of failed multiple times, you have to get the details of what that failure was. Like, for me, when you think about, let's say if we went in a relationship standpoint and someone who's been married multiple times, but their first marriage, it ended because it was abusive. And then it wasn't nothing that they did.
Right.
It was actually the other person. Or, even if you want to go with business, right? Let's say you had a business partner and that person was like stealing money from the company. It has nothing to do with you, but your business failed.
Right.
I need to find out what the failures were, because oftentimes something can fail and it necessarily wasn't my fault that it failed. It was just because of the circumstances around it. So I would want to find out, why did your business fail? And what was your contribution for me to learn from that?
It kind of makes me think about the question, and it was floating on social media maybe 6 to 8 months ago, where they said, if you had a chance to sit down with like Beyonce or Jay-Z, would you take?
Oh yeah.
You know,
would you do a lunch, or would you take $1 million or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I come to learn is like, quite honestly, most successful people, they failed. Like they failed at some point. In order, I mean, because what they say, Colonel Sanders, the KFC man, they said he failed over 100 and no, this is not.
Yeah.
But I know that it was like over 142 times that he failed before he finally got successful. Got a yes, like, okay, yeah, we like your idea, etc. So when I think about that concept of like sitting down with Jay-Z for lunch, all right, if I could sit down with Colonel Sanders, take the money, I want to sit down with him and find out, all right, what steps did you take to get the desired outcome you were seeking?
Can I cut the time in half? Can I have like half of the money and then half of the time with you? Like, what if I want both? What if I want both?
But I think adversity and just failure to me is extremely important. So I look at it as, say for an example, like you have that pastor, right, of a church, but he was a pastor's kid. You know what I mean? Never had any issues. Grew up in the church. Was kind of like surrounded around, I guess, Christians, right? If that's your religion, whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you had that person that didn't grow up in the church, that possibly that was in the streets, got in a lot of trouble, then they started a church. Now, to me, I think that's a little bit more relatable.
100%.
Someone that to me that was protected their whole life, never seen adversity. Because to me, when you see someone that's going through a lot, even when you look at sports teams, when you have a team that wins all the time, they've never been tested. You know what I'm saying? Versus when you have a team that has been tested, failed a couple of years, and then they won the Super Bowl or the finals. You're like, yo, I'm gonna find out what did they do to turn that team around. Right. And so you'll be more interested in that type of story versus people like that rocky story. You know what I'm saying? That comeback story. Yeah.
But then I also have a question though, because for the ones who made the right decisions, do you feel like they get left behind because it's like they're almost like demonized? Well, not even say demonized, but they're looked over because it's like, well, you just did it right. Okay, because maybe I was more methodical with my choices. Maybe before I did this action, I thought about I'm an overthinker. So by the time I do something, it's not like, oops.
Right.
Like, no, I thought about it.
But it sounds like because that person paid attention to other people's mistakes. Just like if you have like 3 kids.
Okay.
That third child saw what the first child did. The second child did, like, if I did that, you know what I'm saying, this would be my consequences. So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
but you still learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, so you're speaking from the vantage point of the person who is learning from that other person, right? From the other people who made mistakes. But by the time someone is observing them, they maybe didn't make that many mistakes. That's someone who you observe. And I will also take advice from someone who thought about their choices because it's a certain value that they had to their time, in my opinion. Like, there's a certain value that they put on their life and their time to say, you know what, every decision that I make, I'm going to think about the outcomes prior to doing that because I don't have time to waste to now fix my wrongs. So I don't think that either one should be overlooked. That's why I think finding out the specifics of the failure.
Well, both is needed.
Yeah, they're both
Both.
needed.
Yeah, both
But
needed.
but the question is, would you be inclined? Like, whose advice would you take faster?
Well, I mean, yeah, but like you said, it's kind of like a jaded question, um, because just like you just said, when we talked about Colonel Sanders, you said, "Can I get half the money and can I get the interview?"
Mm-hmm.
I would take advice from both of them.
Yeah.
Both.
You know what I mean? Because it's like,
but if you had the option,
right? If I had
Had
no
that
other,
option.
if I had
Yeah,
no
you had
other
to.
option,
I know we're trying to figure out a way around it. Loophole.
Yeah.
What is the loophole?
Yeah.
if I had no other option,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would take the advice from passing it to Gary. So I can
No,
think
I
about
would,
it.
I would say if I have to make a choice, I'll choose the one that's more successful or whatever that is I'm trying to do.
So, are you taking the advice from the person who failed, or just got it right the first time?
Is that the question? They got it right
That's
the
the
first time?
question.
Would you be inclined to take advice from the person who failed multiple times before succeeding, so they both
Okay.
have
That
reached
was my bad.
success? Yeah.
I didn't listen to the question.
I
I would say the person that felt then.
Okay, yeah. Versus the one who got it right the first time.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's really a hard question for
Yeah.
me because I'm thinking like, if I could get the advice from the person that got it right the first time,
Yep.
and I can essentially look at what they did
Mhm.
and build my own show off of that, and ultimately I could probably get a step further than where they got.
Okay, so I agree, right? Because in a sense, you're thinking of, I want to know, like, how did you get it right the first time?
Exactly.
Like, give me the details of what you avoided to waste your time,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me, because like you said, it's almost like when you are raising your children, and of course, like the idea is for them to have a better life than you had. So all the mistakes you've made, you give them a better life. So in a sense, it's like they're not going to have to go through certain hurdles just because of what we went through. That's how it almost is. Someone who got it right the first time. How did you do that? Oh, what did you invest in? Oh, what made you do this? And now, like, I'm starting at an earlier state. Yeah, I'm gonna be fired by the time like I
Yeah.
reach my point of success.
But I do think both are necessary, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I was thinking yesterday, like I was in the city of Wilmington, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the street I was on, it wasn't the best street.
Oh.
And when I was sitting in the car, I just heard boom, boom, boom.
Like gunshots?
Well, that's what I assumed.
Oh,
The one
okay.
thing we know about life is you never assume.
Oh.
Mhm.
So I just pressed the button to where my rear camera can show me what's behind the car
Mm-hmm.
without me having to turn my head around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was just little kids shooting fireworks.
Oh,
But it's 4:30 in the afternoon.
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
perspective.
Mhm.
So I was thinking, like what you just said, you know, for me, I wasn't scared when I heard that
Oh.
because I've heard it before.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Wilmington.
I know. I'm just thinking of myself. I would be
You
petrified.
see what I mean?
Right.
That's because your mom and your parents, based on what you just said, you
Mhm.
were put in a different situation. than-
Mm.
Now, I was thinking to myself, what if my son was here? Like, he
Mm.
would be.
He would be with me.
Yeah, he would be.
He'll be on the ground.
Dad, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Mhm.
How old is your son?
14.
Right. Or he may be locked into his phone and probably didn't hear
Yeah,
any of it.
exactly. One of the two. One of the
So,
two. Yeah. So,
No awareness.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, I think you're right. By saying that, like, because like, and this is just a parent situation because
Mhm.
you know you did all you could to put your kids and your family in a better situation, so that they don't even understand the things that
Right.
you know. It's kind of like we'll never understand what our grandparents went through.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
All right. So I have a question.
Tough one, man.
I have
Yeah,
a
it is.
It's still a tough one.
It is.
Yeah.
I have a question then. So, when it comes to taking advice and stuff like that, right? The topic goes from like, who would you take advice from? Someone who I will talk about parenting advice.
Mm-hmm.
So you're about to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say for marriage counseling. Would you be able to take advice from someone who's never been married and to counsel you? Or would you feel like, you gotta, the same way like when you think of child therapists, if they don't have children,
right,
and you're telling me how to raise my children, like,
it's like the concept like, how can you sell real estate and be a realtor if you don't own a house?
oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I hear that all the time.
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so like, yeah, no, I wouldn't take advice from someone that's not married.
Okay.
They have there's an experience that you go through.
Correct.
Okay.
There's learning lessons that those people can teach you
Mm-hmm.
that have walked down that path. And one thing I've come to learn about life, it's like the details matter for the position.
Okay.
True.
That's good. So are you saying you can't learn from them, or you just wouldn't take advice from them? Because I do believe there's two different categories.
Maudie Thelma Barksdale, my great late grandmother, always said you can learn from a dog and it barks when no one's there if you watch it.
There you go. Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah.
So no, I would not take advice from them or not listening to them or hear what they had to say. But I would be more in tune to take advice from someone that
lived an experience.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I say the same exact thing. It's just I would prefer to be around the person that's giving me advice. The couple or just one person? Just want to make sure. Either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I think when you have a successful marriage, right, and you giving advice, I think the level of advice is going to be, it should be a little bit more level, but it's they're going to give you advice that's going to help you out in your marriage. Versus someone that had a failed marriage, you may hear all the negative,
right,
aspect of being married. Like, you shouldn't get married, worst thing you could do, get married.
Oh, that's jaded. They're jaded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it just, I think at the end of the day, it's all up to you what you take from that conversation. You can take it as a good thing or a bad thing, but me personally, I would rather be with someone that has a successful marriage.
Yeah.
To give me advice.
I'm a eat the meat, spit out the bone kind of person. So, so for me, you know what? You rock out and do what you got to do. You can talk if you want. Don't think I'm it's penetrating my heart on everything that's being said. Because when I personally, for advice, I kind of want to respect you. I do feel like I can learn from every situation. And even when it comes to like raising children, and you have a lot of people who don't have kids, and I'm not even talking about
advice.
Yeah, and I do think there's a difference in people who've had experiences of helping to raise someone. You could like have an age gap and you help raise your siblings. You've contributed to the upbringing of someone. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not excluding people who don't physically give birth to children, but I'm talking about the ones who never really been around kids, never nurtured a kid, and then you got all the advice to give on what a parent should be doing. I'm not going to listen to that, and I don't care how many degrees you have.
They're using theories.
Exactly.
Theories.
Yeah, like what about when you get to the ground and get eye level with little Benny, and little Benny's not listening to you? Like, I don't care what your little book said. I need someone who goes like, this is what I had to do, right?
Yeah.
So, I do feel as though we have to be a little more open-minded and receptive to almost like what your grandmother felt, learning from everything.
Right.
Even if you gather your own information from what you're observing. But the mindset of feeling like certain people can't, check you, or you can't learn, you're like, I can't learn from this. I can learn from everything.
Right.
For sure.
Even if it's on what not to do, how not to act. Yeah.
So let me ask you this question.
Okay.
How do you decide what to filter in from what someone is saying to you from their experience? What to keep and what to discard?
For me?
Because it goes with this scenario.
Okay. Personally for me, I listen to what their assumptions are of me. So if you're giving me advice based off of like an assumption that you have of me that's completely wrong, literally everything you're giving me is bones, because you don't even know me. You're speaking from a vantage point of what you would do if you were me, rather than factoring me. So I'm going to respectfully let you get it off your chest, but I'm not walking away like, oh, you changed my life. when it comes to advice, you know.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just listening to your experiences and things that you've gone through, like I'll listen to that and then I can learn from that situation. But that's how I filter in what is a bone and what is meat for me. Because if you are trying to give me advice, it shouldn't be from the standpoint of how you would act in it. Right. You should be factoring Nicole, her personality, her temperament, all these things, because it's advice on how I can better myself.
For me, I would say that spending more time just listening to what a person has to say, and then I would take in what works for me. So, like I said, I hear all the information, but based upon whatever that subject may be, that's okay. What I like when he said this, or I like when she said this. That doesn't really work for me, or I don't think I'll do it that way there. But I'll take these things here and apply it to my situation because I think it'll work for what I got going on.
Gotcha. What about you? Like, how do you spit out your meat?
That sounds wild. But...
Okay, spit out the bones.
I'm a vegetarian.
Okay, how do you not take on everything that someone says? Oh my God, relax here. How do you not? How do you know? How do you sift through your information that is given?
I guess for me, just from life experiences, I'm a real deep thinker.
Yeah.
And it takes me some time to recap a conversation because with every conversation I'm beginning with the end.
Yeah.
So for me, I filter based on the initial vibe that I have with the person.
Okay.
Within the first 3 to 5 seconds. And then I can tell the direction of what that person is trying to accomplish.
Okay.
If they're trying to say something where essentially they are trying to help catapult me forward, then I can feel that vibe within the first 3 to 5 seconds. Like, okay, let me hear what the guys say. But then on the other side, you got those people that they're stuck. You got some people that's saying something to you because they feel ultimately like, oh, you've already progressed past me, and you can kind of feel the negative stance by what they're saying. And I can feel it, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, for example, when I was opening up the brokerage, I had someone say, good luck. Within the first 3 to 5 seconds. Like, oh, it's a lot of competition out there.
That's a lot of fuel. Use that.
Yeah, now had I would have taken that statement and just let it hold on me, we wouldn't be here today.
Thank God you didn't listen to that. So their motives.
Amen. Give it to God.
Right. Motives matter.
Yes.
Okay, so let me can I fix my answer? Can I edit it?
You the boss.
No, I'm not the boss.
Well, God is
there
the
boss. You go. So in addition to everything I said, because I stand 10 toes down, I'm also going to say I want to know what your motive is behind it.
Yes.
So if your motive is actually to because you want to see me better and it's not attached to how it benefits you,
right?
Then I will be receptive to go. What was that? Run that back again. Even because I'm also not a person where I like criticism. Please tell me that I'm wrong. Please tell me how I can change things. I don't need someone to always be my rah-rah or my cheerleader because I can wake up and do that myself. So depending on the topic that they're giving me advice in, that matters. And also, like I said, everything that I said before, I stand with that. But I need to know your motive behind it. Because some people, like you said, they're jaded or negative, and you're just trying to forecast, almost converting me in a cult. You want me to believe what you believe, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I'll also say, going back to what you said earlier, Eddie, is the fact that you can tell when someone's truly trying to help you out. So they'll say, okay, Eddie, you're gonna start your own company. All right, cool. I started my own company too, and this is what I did. This what didn't work for me. So watch out for this. So it's for a fact that not only they're trying to champion you, but at the same time, they're trying to help you eliminate mistakes so you can reach whatever your goal is a lot faster. And you can identify that real quick, but like you said,
yeah, because the energy.
Some people open up your own business. Why you could just work for Keller Williams? You could do this, because that's a safe zone.
Or some people just don't want you succeed, and they don't want you in your lane. Yeah. So let's say they're a business owner and say, well, why do you think you're the only one who can do that? Like, I hate that where they think it's for me and for everybody else, but it's not for you. And it's like, ooh, don't put your limits on me. Like, that's not cool. Like, you're transferring your insecurities.
That's their problem. That's their problem.
Yeah, that's a them problem.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, so moral of the story is you can learn from everything. Everything should be a learning experience, and value your time so that you can make the least amount of failed outcomes. But there is no failure if you get up and you keep going. That's what I have.
But I'll also add, I'll throw this out so we could have a little bit more dialogue to this. I really like this conversation. So when you look at just how our government is set up in the United States, right? You have Republicans and Democrats. I can see why it was the country is founded using that perspective, because Democrats feel a certain way, Republicans feel a certain way. To take it into a friend group, like a circle who you're rolling with, when you have people that have different perspectives. But at the end of the day, everyone want to see you succeed, but they have different ways of coming about starting your own business or being successful. And I would just say it's good to have a strong circle of friends or a peer group that could give you different perspectives. So you're not just hearing all the rah-rah, just motivation. Versus, I don't know if I agree with this, but I would probably try doing it this way.
Right.
Like a challenging kind of situation.
When you did it this way, maybe you probably should have did it this way.
Yeah.
Because I tried that before, or I had a friend of mine that did this, and it probably worked a little bit better. So challenging that person, but at the same time, they pushing you forward versus wanting to see you fail. So I guess the bottom line is your circle of friends and hearing different perspectives.
Yeah.
Democrats versus Republican, just people that grew up in the hood versus didn't grow up in the hood.
Right.
Just taking all that in and saying, okay, what can I do that works for me to help propel me to that next level?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I was like, when you were saying that, I was thinking like organically, people connected somehow, and they lean towards somebody they have things in common with, right?
Right.
But like you just said, it's very important that you also have those people that essentially are the challengers for you.
Correct. Yeah.
So you got those that boost you up, but then you got those people that say, yo, you know what, I like that you did this, but if you would have did this, it would have been better. And then you also got to have the critical people. Like, for example, on Sunday, we do a certain thing, as you know, work stuff, thinking, we're thinking and engaging and talking. And I was talking to my dad, and my phone ringer went off, and it just kept going off. Real estate call. And my dad said, Ed, he was like, that ringer sounds so terrible. It just feel like it's making you rush. And it was just like,
right.
And I said, that's the way I feel every time it rings too. I feel like I have to stop the conversation and just run to the phone.
The urgency, yeah, I get that.
But had someone else said that to me, I'd have been like, but just because it came from somebody I admire, respect, and look up to, I was like, let me just see how it goes. So later in the week, I just let it go and go. Right. And every time it did it, I was just like, oh, let me get to the phone. So then yesterday, I finally changed the ringer.
Oh,
since
okay.
I got the phone.
Okay.
So then it went off this morning, and my fiance was like, you changed your ringer? I was like, yeah. But I didn't run to the phone. Because the new ringer I put on was just a whole different vibe. It wasn't one to rush. It's music now.
Yeah.
So, like, it goes to show, like, what you're saying. Like, somebody else can give you a piece of information. And, like, if it would have came from one of my boys, I'd have just been like, yeah, whatever.
Well, what a perspective, though, man. I think maybe because he saw how you responded to that ringer.
Yep.
Wow.
That's deep, man. That is
simple.
Deep.
It's simple, but that's deep.
Because who it came from also made you pause and kind of like hesitate and think over your steps. Because there's a good group of people who can say something to me. I'm like, okay. And then there's people who I hold in a higher regard, where you say something, it's like, all right, if by the time they're saying something to me, like then maybe let me
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate.
Right.
Let me reevaluate this. But even speaking to your point about having a diverse group of people who challenge you, like I do look at everything as a positive outlook. So even your negativity, like on like a business venture, like someone who, let's say, their motive is to tear me down, their motive is to make me not want to do it and hinder me, you're just going to make me reevaluate my plan to make sure that I've like crossed my T's and dotted my I's. So I'm going to use that as fuel. So I use everything as a positive thing of, okay, if it happened to me, what can I extract? What is the good that I can extract from this? And I feel as though that's how we should look at life experiences. That way, a lot of times you even have people who fail, right? And they feel crushed. Like they don't want to go any further, even whether it's business, whether it's a failed friendship, failed relationship, like whatever. It's like it takes them down.
Right.
Like if you extract, there's some type of good in there that you can extract from that moment and learn from and just do better next time. So that's it.
And I learned like you can, like most people, I'm going to use the term the unseen people. Like people you see on the street holding the signs.
Yeah.
And then there's some people, because I'm finding myself now as just growing in life, the level of enlightenment that I see around me. There's some people that move so fast past you that they don't even want to be like seen. But then there's some people that I just don't see, and I want people to feel seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And a lot of time, like the people holding the signs and things like that, they're just like unseen.
You're right.
We so focused on the phone, the kids in the car, and all that, and we don't realize like, yo, it's pouring down raining. Like people are out here holding the sign.
Yeah.
But those are the people that you can like really learn something from. So like Gary was saying earlier, like you take the chance, the time to really listen.
Yeah.
Like you can really learn something from the unseen people.
When you talk about unseen, the ones who aren't even asking, like you just see them digging in the trash or just trying to like when you like they're looking for a place to lay.
Right.
Like those are the ones that really like pull at my heartstrings. But like you said, we need to go out our way to see everybody. Like that's why I say kindness is free, right?
Yeah.
In a world where everything costs, the one thing you can give is kindness because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves not to be defined by their last mistake.
Right.
So, or their last failure.
Give them a good morning and hello. You don't necessarily got give them money. And most time people want to, and that's not even just like the homeless people because there's people that walk among us that's doctors, lawyers, all the time. They feel unseen. And you can feel it. Like I said, the vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like you can feel how like somebody like feels. So it's just as simple as somebody that feels like
seen.
Yeah, and you say good morning, they're just like, oh, hey, good morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just giving love, receiving love back.
Yeah, I feel like everyone in their life has experienced feeling unseen.
I was gonna say it made me think about we had a commander when I was in the military, where he's a commander of the squadron, so he's high up there, right? But he respected everyone from the mechanics that worked on the aircraft, to the guys that was cleaning the floors, to the guys that cleaning the windows, the one that's outside doing the yard. I mean, doing the landscaping. And he called everyone sir, and he'll take his hat off and help no matter what you're doing. If I say I'm out taking out the trash or whatever, he'll stop. And to me, that's to go so far. And naturally, what happens is you don't think about it, but guess what? You'll be willing to do anything with this guy.
Yeah.
First, don't want to walk in, no eye contact, in and out of there.
Right.
But when you have someone that really just take that time to say good morning or thank you, simple things like that, or call you by your name.
Right.
To me, that goes a long way. I just, even like when I go to the store, anytime I see a name tag, I always speak to that person by their name.
Yeah.
And I know that kind of throw them off. Like, hey, I appreciate it, Timmy, or whatever the name may be. But to me, little acts of kindness like that goes a long way because every person makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? At every level. You know what I mean? So,
I agree. And for the charge of the people who don't do that, I like, for instance, I had went to Walmart. And I grew up in church, right? And it was a minister's wife there. And I saw her in Walmart, and I know she saw me because we got eye contact. And
I know where this is going.
Now I'm gonna prefix this. In the wall, in the four walls, of church, you would see me and it's like, hi, oh my God, how's the baby? Oh, they so cute. But in Walmart, when there's no witnesses, there's no hierarchy. You don't have like the head pastor looking, because a lot of times we only give regard to people depending on the proximity of who they're connected to and all those little cute things. So when I did see her in Walmart and she saw me, and I'm naturally a smile and nod my head kind of person. I'm like, hi. My voice went up an octave, so like it's a pleasant interaction. And it was like, hi. It was like, ooh, bad mood for you. Like it was like you didn't want to speak, and it's like those small things. Like, let's say that like that whole day I was feeling real unseen. You don't know like what heaviness I could have been feeling. That one action could have been like the straw that broke the camel's back. Right. So I feel like when we are, everyone's going through things, right, in life. And it should be a mindset that no matter who you are connected to, no matter who you are, no matter what I'm going through in this moment, I want to be kind. I want to treat you kind. I want to treat you like a human. So if the minister's wife does watch this, I pray she's convicted. I was gonna say the same thing. Because you know who you are. Advocate, she may have been having a bad day. Listen, true. I understand that, but
you don't know what she had going on.
I understand that.
And you caught on a bad day.
Yeah, but listen here. No, because honestly, okay, so when I brought it up to somebody else, they said the same thing. And I'm very big on accountability, right? So you may be having a bad day.
I know I be having some bad days.
Yeah, but
I normally very positive, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to, not today, man.
Oh, well then, one, stay home, stay your bad day home, take that energy and keep it to yourself. Or
we are human, you know what I'm saying?
But two, the way I always think of it is like when you think of your saddest moments, right, and the things that really harmed you, I don't want someone to feel the way I ever felt. So if I'm having a bad day, sometimes my days feel better just from being kind and knowing that I made a difference in someone else's day, because I don't want someone to walk around feeling the heaviness that I feel. And I feel like we live in a world where everything's about me, that, okay, if you're having a bad day, but why would you want to make somebody else's day worse by your stinky attitude because it's funking up an area? I'm not just talking about that situation, but I'm talking about period. Like, that's why it's like, if I'm invited to a place and I know that, like, I really don't want to go there, I'm going to do you a solid and keep my funky energy home because I don't want to be there. Like, I don't think that's fine to mess up your airspace.
Let's just say you're passionate about this.
I am passionate about that because I think it's the simplest thing that you can do, even if it's a smile.
True.
No one's trying to take time out your day and dialogue and go to lunch with you. But it's something so simple that you can give. And I think I'm passionate about that because I'm like, if it was in any other setting, because of your audience who's around looking at you, you react differently. I want to know that when you know that God is your only witness of what you see, you are being that same, you're the same. Like, I'm the same no matter who I'm around.
Right.
That's very true.
So that's very true. My little TED talk.
Is there anything else you need to get off your chest?
Relax here. This is my therapy session, but no, I'm good. Like, just be kind, and it's not always about you. I get you're having a bad day.
It's funny when I was listening to you talk, because we both know your energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever talk to Nicole, she's always super positive. You know, from the first time I met her, I mean, even going through transactions, even if there's a conversation that's a deep conversation or something that's tough that we need to talk about, she keeps the same personality. But you also have people, anytime you talk to them, they always super negative.
God, man, Jesus.
So when you see your phone, you're like,
those energy takers?
I'm about to call him back.
No, I'm sending you a text.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's almost going back to the conversation we was having before. The people that's positive all the time and people that's extremely negative. You can learn from both, right?
On what not to be.
Yeah. So, First Lady, if you're watching this.
Minister's wife, she doesn't even have that position. Minister's wife. Like, I'm joking. Cut that out.
Yes.
Cut that out. I'm joking.
That was.
No, I'll love it there. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it.